What's up? It's your girl FrumpyFit. If you don't know who I am, I'm an online weight loss coach who's dedicated to calling out all the BS in the fitness industry and providing you with accurate fitness, nutrition, and weight loss information. Today we are going over mindful eating, which I've mentioned in so many other videos before this, and you guys have been begging for an actual dedicated video, so that's what we're doing. I'm gonna go over the 3 steps to get to mindful eating for weight loss. But first, this video is sponsored by Magic Spoon, my literal favorite cereal of all time. Yes, compared to your regular like grocery store bought cereal. Cereal is one of those foods that I could literally eat and not stop. It's one of my favorite breakfast things, but also dessert, snack time, cereal. And my all-time favorite thing about Magic Spoon, not just that it tastes as good as any other cereal I've ever tried, but it has 13 grams of protein per serving. Let me just give you the stats actually. It is gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and sugar-free. So 0 grams of sugar, 13 or 14 grams of protein, and only 4 grams of net carbs per serving. And it's so good. This flavor frosted is my all-time favorite. When we get variety packs, we love getting frosted, fruity, chocolate, and peanut butter. There are so many good flavors to choose from. So if you want to try out Magic Spoon, you can use this discount code to get you $5 off a variety pack, and make sure you use the link in the description because it'll take you right there. Thanks Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. Okay, first order of business. What is mindful eating and what is mindful eating for weight loss? I'm starting to hear people talk about mindful eating more, and unlike intuitive eating, which has a book, I think mindful eating is more of just a concept, and people are putting different spins on it. So this is my spin. Mindful eating is just eating with mindfulness and intention, and you can do this for any goal that you have. So for weight loss, you're eating with mindfulness with the ultimate goal of weight loss, and how we do this is by creating a calorie deficit, and we can do this with mindful eating, which I'll go over in this video. If you need more information about calories or what even a calorie deficit is, because a calorie deficit is required for weight loss, you can watch this video and also this playlist, which that video is in. In order to accomplish mindful eating for weight loss, you are gonna need to rely on some feedback from your body. I always get questions well, how do I know if I'm in a calorie deficit if I'm not tracking my calories? How do I know if I'm actually losing weight? How do I know if it's working? Essentially, you're not in a calorie deficit if you're not losing weight. So you got to use that feedback from your body to see if you're making progress or not. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We'll talk about this when I go over the 3 steps, mostly step 3. And again, these are my own definitions of what mindful eating is. It's what I teach my students in my course, Tried and True Weight Loss for You. If you're interested in learning about it, you can use the link in the description and pinned in the comments. I would absolutely love to have you. But with my course students, they have 2 options for weight loss. I've already talked a lot about calories on my channel, and I've made a couple of videos about calorie tracking, how to calculate your calories, and why you shouldn't count your calories. But mindful eating is the other option. If you go with calorie tracking, the ultimate goal is mindful eating. You're not just going to track your calories forever, or you can just skip the calorie tracking altogether if it doesn't work for you and just do mindful eating. Please remember that there is no one way to lose weight. It's about finding the right way for you. So feel free to just use what I talk about in this video as inspiration. You can accept, reject, or tweak literally anything that I'm going over today to make it fit you a little bit better. Step 1 is what I call observational mindfulness. So I recommend food journaling for this. And the mindfulness that we're talking about in this step comes after rather than during or before. So all you're doing is observing yourself for, I recommend 1 to 2 weeks. So you're not changing anything about your current diet. You're just keeping some sort of track of it and observing. During this phase, you're observing your decisions, your habits, how you feel around food, emotionally and physically. You're observing your hunger, and there's absolutely no judgment involved. Notice nothing of what I mentioned has to do with calories or portions or anything like that. If you feel like that will be valuable for you, go ahead and add it in, but not required. Step number 2 is what I call active mindfulness. Now we're moving on from just observing to applying that to our diet so that we can get results. So you're gonna look over your food journal and just ask yourself, what can I gather from this information? And these are some common realizations that I've seen with my students and even with myself, because I absolutely love this mindful eating strategy. So you might realize, I eat when I'm bored. I eat past the point of fullness. I feel X certain way after I eat X certain meal or food. I eat when I feel blank emotion. After eating blank food or meal, I don't feel satisfied and tend to eat pretty quickly again after. After eating blank food, I don't feel good physically. I'm sluggish, I'm bloated, whatever it is. So you might have some of those realizations, you might have none of them, and yours are gonna be totally different. So now for being active with our mindfulness. When we are actively being mindful, we're seeking to improve the things that we've identified that are not serving us or maybe don't fall into the category of eating with intention. Now, the intention can totally be eating for enjoyment or taste. So I'm not saying that from now on, anytime you decide to eat your food, it needs to have some like serious reason why you're eating or has to serve your goals like 100% of the time or has to be perfect 100% of the time. The point is to just have intention behind that decision rather than like it happening and us thinking back of like, oh, I kind of wish that I hadn't done that. I firmly believe that taste and enjoyment are a part of a diet that is successful, and that if you ignore that part of it, you will not be successful. So again, that intention is totally fine. So at this point, identifying those habits and decisions and behaviors that may not be serving you and aiming to improve them may get you some weight loss on its own. If that's the case, just keep doing what you're doing, keep practicing that mindfulness, and eventually the goal is to get to a point where this mindfulness is more of second nature rather than like a whole thought process that you have to go through when you're eating. And step 3 is reflection, and this comes into play specifically with weight loss. If you're not seeing results, you have to reflect and figure out what next steps to take. If this happens, like if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, do not panic. Do not change everything up, okay? The point is to make small changes to what we're already doing instead of changing everything. I actually talked about this in a recent video, and I just made my most popular free masterclass, the one thing you need to achieve sustainable weight loss, which hint, it's minimum effective dose, meaning doing as little as possible. I just published that masterclass as an on-demand training rather than you needing to show up live for it. So that link is in the description under freebies if you're interested in watching that masterclass. But anyway, no need to panic and like try keto for the 3rd time, okay? We're gonna tap into the knowledge that we have about a calorie deficit and weight loss. And again, if you need more information about that, check out the calorie deficit video that I made. And we're gonna figure out how to apply that information that we know to mindfulness in order to start losing weight. Like, we're gonna figure out how we can create a calorie deficit using mindfulness and intention. This is going to look different for everybody. For me personally, I will let you know the ones that I kind of turn to if I am practicing mindful eating and wanting to lose weight. I can't remember if I mentioned them in this video about gaining weight and how I plan to lose it, but these are prompts, mindfulness prompts that work for me when I'm losing weight. I aim to eat the same foods, but just smaller portions. So the example I usually use is cream cheese, one of my favorite breakfasts, and I just love cream cheese in general. Sometimes I'll do like a piece of bread with jalapeno cream cheese and scrambled eggs on top. Amazing. I also love to do like a little breakfast burrito. Don't judge me if you think this is weird, but I've had friends try this that were skeptical who said it tasted incredible. Tortilla, flour or corn, whatever's your preference, a little bit of regular cream cheese, egg, onion, salsa, and olive if you're feeling into that. I personally love it. So I can look at those 2 breakfast options and say, how can I increase the likelihood that this meal is gonna get me to my goal? I tend to go a little too ham on the cream cheese. So all I'm gonna do is just slightly decrease the amount of cream cheese that I'm putting on whatever it is I'm eating. And so I still get to have the cream cheese. I still get to have the exact meal that I'm looking for, but instead of like packing on the cream cheese, I'm just gonna ask myself, how much do I need to include in this recipe for me to still really enjoy it, but keep me on track with my goals? And if you do that little by little throughout the day with everything you're eating, that can make a really big difference, especially over time if you're consistent with it. Another example is like, I love ice cream. I'll usually have like a couple of cookies or like ice cream at night. And so that can look like still having that ice cream, but having just slightly less, especially because we tend to just finish whatever we put in our bowl. If you just put less in the bowl initially and like, you know, go about your business, you may not even notice. Like, imagine if someone else served your ice cream and just put little bit less than you normally would, you probably wouldn't notice that much. But it would save you some calories and help increase the likelihood that you're in a calorie deficit. Another thing that I'll do occasionally is like when we're grocery shopping, I'll just start reading food labels and checking to see if we're getting calorie-friendly options that we're still gonna enjoy. This is not about just like decreasing your calories and switching to foods that you don't like. Like food swaps only work if you're still gonna like it. So for me, this looks like maybe salad dressings, sauces like pasta sauce, but also like barbecue sauce. My favorite barbecue sauce is, I think it's G. Hughes, and it is sugar-free, so it has less calories in it. Still amazing. When I was prepping for my bodybuilding competition, I used Walden Farms barbecue sauce. No. G. Hughes. You can also kind of do this with like recipes, figure out how to like swap or improve the calorie content of like recipes that you're having. Like my husband and I just started trying out like making stir fries, and we've just been buying the store-bought sauce without really looking at food labels because we just want to like dip our toes in and see if we like it before we really refine it. And so our next step might be to refine the recipe a little bit to be more calorie friendly, potentially in the sauce department. Again, make sure any of these swaps that you're making are still going to be enjoyable to you, because that's very important. And lastly, one of the biggest ones for me is improving mindfulness with snacking. Okay, I self-proclaimed snack queen. You can watch this YouTube video all about snacking for weight loss, but I love snacks. I just love snacks, and it's so easy to go overboard, like accidentally eating too many chips or whatever it is. So if you are in that department, check out this snacking tips for weight loss video, because I actually go over some of like my mindful eating practices when it comes to snacks. But also what I do, aside from the tips in that video, is before I go grab a snack, I ask myself why I want that snack. Why do I want a snack in the first place? If it's because I'm bored, maybe say no to the snack. If it's because I'm really actually hungry and I want to eat something, then I'm like, okay, what snack could I have that is going to keep me on track, maybe with my goals, make me feel satisfied afterward for sure, because just eating a pile of chips is not going to do that for you. That's kind of what I go over in that snacking video. Okay, so I want to challenge you, if you get to this point in your mindful eating journey, to get creative and just trust that if you continue these kinds of behaviors, there's a very good chance that you're gonna still be able to reach your goals. The key here though is that you have to be patient. If you're the type of person who gets really frustrated or frazzled at not getting results quickly, or if you're in a rush to lose weight, this strategy is going to be challenging for you, and so you also need to kind of address that at the same time, or even before you try this out. Because in my course, mindful eating as your starting strategy is a part of a long-term strategy. Basically, in the course, you choose whether short-term weight loss, or meaning like you lose weight more quickly or you lose weight more slowly, you decide which one is right for you. Then we kind of build your strategy also based on that. It's hard to explain unless you're in the course. There's a whole order to things. It all makes sense with like the homework assignments and, you know, all of that. But mindful eating is a part of the longer term strategy. So going into it, you have to know that this may decrease how quickly you're able to reach your goal. But if it's the right strategy for you, you're gonna need to accept that that's likely how things are gonna go, and that that's what's best for you. It may not be what you want, but it might be what's best for you. All right, that's all I have for you about mindful eating. I hope it's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about mindful eating in the comments, or if you have any follow-up videos you want me to make related to anything that I talked about. And as usual, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. It means the absolute world to me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here. You can also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.